Hi everybody. So I didn't make Friday's life lesson because basically Friday was a crazy day for me. So I'm coming to you today, and I'm actually sitting in my garden, which you can tell is not really the garden. You can see I've been weeding a little bit, and the purpose of, or actually while I was weeding, the purpose of this video came to mind, and weeds, as many of us know, many of us either as kids or adults have had to pick weeds at one point in our life or multiple points. And when you become a homeowner, you tend to pick weeds a lot, um, especially in Texas, where you tend to get a lot of intermittent rain throughout the year, and so weeds tend to grow when the grass dries up. But the idea that came to me was that, I'm out here and I'm picking weeds, and I mean, you can see it got a little excessive this year. Through the spring I had a lot going on, in early summer, and then it just rained a lot in July, which was crazy for us here, and so now it's overgrown. And it made me think, in your mind you get a lot of times get overgrown by things that are not great for up here. And I point up here, but your mind is really not just up here. It's all in. It's everywhere in your body. If you understand the concept of where neurotransmitters are created and how everything interacts in your body, your mind is more than just in your brain. But when you have weeds, and weeds meaning negative thoughts, meaning past thoughts of things that are not helpful to you, things where you didn't succeed, and you talk bad to yourself, you have doubts. Sorry, I'm going to watch this wasp that's now flying around over here. And you get things like a wasp that comes out of nowhere, and just like thoughts that come out of nowhere that you're like, oh, well, that memory of me being unsuccessful in that moment, where'd that come from? And now why am I thinking about that unsuccessful moment, and why I am not as good at these things that led to that unsuccessful moment? And now I'm talking down to myself, and I'm and it's a spiral, and we all go there, we all get there at different times, at different things happen. Sometimes we stay there a lot longer than we need to, and there's a lot of different ways to take care of weeds. My wife was like, can you just go get the weed eater and just at least cut them down so that they don't look so bad? And I'm like, well, that's like just putting a Band-Aid on it. Like, because it's not, the roots are still growing, the weeds are still going to show up, like they're still going to grow back up. They'll still be this tall at some point because the roots are still there. The issue is still there. So what we have to do is we have to fix the issue. And when those weeds are in our mind, and it's those negative thoughts that we have, and it's those doubts that we have, and it's all those things that bring us down, and whether it's chronic depression or situational depression or any of those things that happen that bring depression upon us, it's oftentimes because we didn't know how to deal with the issue. We didn't know how to take it and move it outside of ourselves. And what you often have to do is stop what you're doing and pull the weeds. And as busy as I've been, and believe me, this did not grow like this overnight, right? Like, you can see these are, I'm sitting down, but that's taller than me, and that didn't grow overnight like that. That's months, unfortunately. And so how do you get it out? You got to pull it by the root, and you got to get rid of it, and that takes time. I've gotten a small little section here where I can sit and do this video, and that's been probably about 2.5 to 3 hours of picking weeds for me to get that, because they're dug in, they're in the they're in the dirt, that the roots are just dug in there tough and hard, and so I've gotten multiple different tools. And sure, I can go and get, you know, a rototiller, and you know, I can chop them all down with a weed eater and get a rototiller and come through and do all that. And that's sort of like the moment that you say, okay, I can't deal with this myself. I've got to get a therapist. I've got to get, you know, somebody else to help me, because that's sometimes what we need. Sometimes we have the time, we can take the time and we can deal with it. We can just sit down and go through our thoughts and journal them out and write them out and dissect everything, and maybe talk to a friend or two, your spouse. But sometimes we don't have time for that. So sometimes it is get the mower and mow it all down, and get the rototiller and till it all up, and then, you know, or maybe get some gasoline and light it on fire and burn it all out of there. That's all, you know, using a different resource, and that's perfectly fine. But the thing is, you still got to get it from the root, and so some of those things don't get it from the root, and you've got to get it from the root. And the only way to get it from the root, even if you go to a therapist, you still got to do the work. You know, it's a lot like the people that do nutrition work with me, exercise work with me, and it's like, I can tell you what to do, I can show you what to do, but you got to do the work. I can't do it for you. I can explain it all, I can lay out a plan, I can map everything out, I can detail everything, I can explain it all to you so it's there's no doubt that this is the way it's supposed to work, and this is the way it's going to work, and it will work. But it all comes down to you doing the work. Just like I've got to come out here and pull the weeds, or they're not going away, and they're just going to get worse. And you've got to get in your mind and do the work on those negative thoughts, and on those things that are bringing you down, and on those things that are keeping you from being the success that you want to be. And I've got to do it myself. I'm not going to lie. I have got them in my head, and I've got to get them out. And there's times where I've got to sit down and do that. And I do that with my wife. I do that with some friends that are close friends, and we hold each other accountable for multiple things. And when I don't have those things, or the issues are too strong, then it's call a therapist. It's call somebody who's professional at figuring these things out. And you don't want the weeds in your mind to look like this. You don't want that. Believe me, you don't want your weeds in your mind to look like this. The best thing to do is get them when they're short, right? When they first start popping up, you go out there, you pluck, 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 you get rid of them. When those first things start popping in your head, to take a few seconds, take 10 minutes, and pluck, 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 write down, why am I feeling like this? Why do I have these issues? When you first start noticing that your health is going downhill, oh, stop, something's wrong, pluck, 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 what am I doing different? What's changing? Don't wait until you're I don't want to say too far gone, but don't wait until you're so far gone that you're like, now I'm buying 3 sizes bigger than I was, a year ago, and I don't know what to do, and now I'm embarrassed to go see my doctor, or I'm embarrassed to go talk to anybody about it, and so it just gets worse. And a lot of times, those issues with food and nutrition do start in your mind because of different negative thoughts and issues that have happened. So dealing with those things quickly prevents this situation. And this is where I'm at. And I'm telling you, this is not good. Like, you can see where I've gotten down. This is not good. And I'm like really upset with myself for letting it get this bad, because the chances of me having a fall garden now are pretty slim. And as you can tell, I didn't have a spring garden because I just got too busy. I think we planted a few things. We got maybe a couple of some beans out of it. But then things just got crazy and hectic and haywire, and this happened. And that's what happens in a lot of times in our lives. We have good intentions. We start something. We start off really strong. We start off well. We see some basic results at first, and then those negative things happen, and we don't stop to deal with those and pull them out. We just keep treading along, and then they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they overwhelm us. And then we stop doing what we really wanted to do, and we stop seeing the results we really wanted to see, and we get this. Because this is not fruitful. This ain't feeding nobody. I mean, unless I got a goat in here, or a cow in here, or a horse in here, this ain't feeding anybody. You know, this is not good. And that's what happens in our minds. And unfortunately, when we get into our minds and we get like that, we don't want to talk to anybody about it. We don't want to deal with anybody about it. Because we think that it's embarrassing, or it's too personal, or they won't understand, or all of those things. They don't have to understand. And who cares if it's embarrassing? If you need to deal with it, you need to deal with it. And so if you can't deal with it yourself, if you don't have the time to sit down and deal with it yourself, then yeah, you need to call somebody else and have them come deal with it. Have them help you deal with it and help you get through it. And that's really the lesson that I was thinking about. The thing I was thinking about is I was pulling some of these weeds and sitting here thinking, man, I can't believe I let it get this far. I can't believe I let it get this far. Because some of these weeds, let me tell you, their roots are pretty deep. My phone just don't look hot, so I guess it is 98 degrees outside right now. So I'm going to go ahead and end this then, so this doesn't get deleted or my phone doesn't shoot down on me. Oh, it says it's 93. It shouldn't be that hot. But anyway, deal with the things that are in your mind. Deal with the negative thoughts. Deal with them quickly. Deal with those negative issues in your health. Deal with them quickly. Weeds. Pull the weeds. Takes time and pull the weeds. It's the only way to get fruitful. It's the only way to have a garden that's flourishing and producing for you results that you can eat on and that you can live off of. Because you ain't living off of this. We'll talk to y'all later.